Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to SFF180. It is Monday morning, July the 26th, and time once again for the Mailbag. And I hope you guys have had a great week and a great weekend. Mine's been pretty decent, I don't mind saying. Have a pretty nice mailbag this time. I would say a pretty fair mixture of both physical copies as well as electronic ARCs. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right into those because I really haven't got anything in the way of announcements this week. Except this one. Before we get into the books, I need to show you, let's just say I have a very special little haul, some new members of the SFF180 family to introduce. Okay, so this one is Rollo, and this one right here is Portia. And as you can see, they're a bit of a handful. They're a little bit shy, I think, a little camera shy, but they are the new members of the SFF180 family, and they are going to be absolutely no trouble at all and perfect puppies, as you can tell, because all dogs are perfect, but these two are especially perfect, right? Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's see, hopefully they will go to sleep and be calm and be good puppies. Yes, of course. Gonna go ahead and we're gonna start with the physicals. And a whole bunch of these are from Macmillan this time, starting with this box. So let's see what we have, shall we? Well, look what we have here. It is another copy, a crisp hardcover copy of The Empire's Ruin by Brian Staveley. This is the first book in his new series that is set in the same universe as his previous fantasy trilogy, The Chronicles of the Unhewn Throne. And so this one, since I received a copy in my previous mailbag from 2 weeks ago, well, I guess this is your gain, isn't it? You know what it means? It's another giveaway. That's right. Gonna go ahead and I guess give this to a lucky individual watching today. Okay? Now, the rules are just as they were in the previous giveaway I did for the Coward. This is limited, I'm very sorry to say, to my US viewers only. Very sorry about that. It really has to do with postage and handling fees. Postage, even to ship a book, something as basic as a book, out of the country are just astronomical. You literally would be better off just getting it from Book Depository, which has, free global shipping. But if you are in the States, go ahead and send an email to that address with that subject line and your snail mail address in the email, and good luck to you, I guess. This is large-scale secondary world epic fantasy full of battles and stuff. So if you think that, you're the person who likes that kind of thing, then this is probably for you. So take a shot right there. Good luck, everyone. Okay, I guess that's a nice way to start off a mailbag. Now let's see what's in this one. And also in from Tor, we have The Justice in Revenge. This is by Ryan Van Loan. This one actually came out. It's been out for a couple of weeks. Came out on the 13th of July. And this is the sequel to his book, The Sin in Steel. And let's see, I don't really know what can I read about this that will not give you any spoilers. I think this is probably a trilogy, but it could be it's definitely a series. It says Fall of the Gods series. So likely to not just be a duology. Ryan Van Loan is a lifelong fan of all things SFF. And his rich background and charming personality have combined him to make a fresh authorial voice and a standout fantasist. This is another thrilling novel that asks what it truly means to have power, full of monsters and corruption, magic and mystery. The Justice in Revenge is not to be missed. So, the sequel to The Sin in the Steel by Ryan Van Loan, The Justice in Revenge. It's available now from Tor Books. And also in from Tor, it is very nice to have the finished hardcover copy of She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. This came out from Tor on July the 20th. And a very, very big buzz novel from, Asian-themed fantasy, as it were. This is described as Mulan meets the Song of Achilles. It says it's an epic historical reimagining of the rise of the founding emperor of the Ming Dynasty. In 1345, China lies under harsh Mongol rule. For the starving peasants of the Central Plains, greatness is something found only in stories. So, when, in a famine-stricken village on a dusty yellow plain, the Zhu family's eighth-born son, Zhu Chongba, is given a fate of greatness, Everyone is mystified as to how it will come to pass. The fate of nothingness received by the family's clever and capable second daughter, on the other hand, is only as expected. When a bandit attack orphans the two children, it is Zhu Chongba who succumbs to despair and dies. Desperate to escape her own fated death, the girl uses her brother's identity to enter a monastery as a young male novice. There, propelled by her burning desire to survive, the genderqueer monk Zhu learns she is capable of doing whatever it takes, no matter how callous, to stay hidden from her fate. She refuses to be nothing. After her sanctuary is destroyed for supporting the rebellion against Mongol rule, Zhu takes the chance to claim another future altogether, her brother's abandoned mandate of heaven. All right then, so yeah, this has been getting an amazing buzz, and it is available now in hardcover from Tor. She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. And this looks like at least one more big box from Macmillan. Okay, well, this is very cool indeed. I have received, first off, another copy of Shadow and Claw, thank you very much, from Tor by Gene Wolfe, but they have now also sent Sword and Citadel. The Tor Essentials line is reissuing the entire Book of the New Sun series, the classic legendary sort of, I would say, grimdark precursor series by Gene Wolfe, came out at the very beginning of the 80s in 2 volumes. This one has already been released, Shadow and Claw. This one, the second 2 books, Sword and Citadel, in a bind-up volume, is going to be out on August the 10th. So that's really good to know. But, yeah, you heard me mention, didn't you, that this one I'd already gotten a copy of. So I guess you know what that means, right? What the hell? Let's do it again. Let's have a second giveaway this episode. Why not? If you would like to win this copy of Shadow and Claw, instructions are the same. There's the email address. Please use that subject line. Again, only open to my US viewers. Very sorry about that. Economic reality. If you are wanting to win both books that I have shown you on this episode today, or at least enter to win both books, both the Brian Staveley book as well as Shadow and Claw, please do them as separate emails with the separate subject lines. So send 2. Less confusing that way. Please don't say, please sign me up for both in one email. Separate emails, okay? So, again, good luck to all of you. And if you have never sampled this series before, it's a challenge. It's a difficult one. Gene Wolfe is a writer very much in a class by himself, but if you're willing to kind of stick with it, and I think you'll catch on, right? You'll catch up to it. But the Shadow and Claw giveaway is now active. Well, that was unexpected. Haven't ever done 2 giveaways in a single mailbag before. Maybe a sign of good things. Anyway, so now we're going to move on to some random Penguin releases. And I'm very happy to have this in the house. This is the finished copy of the Book of Accidents. This is Chuck Wendig's new horror novel. This one is full-on horror. His previous book, Wanderers, was kind of like post-apocalyptic SF mixed with, some horror elements. This one is apparently full-on horror. And he is writing a sequel to Wanderers, but this is nothing to do with that. So let's see. It says, long ago, Nathan lived in a house in the country with his abusive father and has never told his family what happened there. Long ago, Maddie was a little girl making dolls in her bedroom when she saw something she shouldn't have and is trying to remember that lost trauma by making haunting sculptures. Long ago, something sinister, something hungry, walked in the tunnels in the mountains and the coal mines of rural Pennsylvania. Now, Nate and Maddie Graves are married, and they have moved back to their hometown with their son Oliver. And now what happened long ago is happening again, and it is happening to Oliver. He meets a strange boy who becomes his best friend, a boy with secrets of his own, and a taste for dark magic. The dark magic puts them at the heart of a battle of good versus evil and a fight for the soul of the family, and perhaps for all of the world. But the Graves family has a secret weapon in this battle, their love for one another. Okay then. So, the Book of Accidents, available now, I believe, from Del Rey Books in hardcover. Ooh, okay, this is a very beautiful edition, again, in hardcover from Del Rey Books. This is The Desert Prince by Peter V. Brett. He's the author of the Demon Cycle series of epic fantasies, and this, got this stunning cover. This is, I believe, just, it is set in the same world, okay. but it is a completely new adventure, completely new series, following a new generation of heroes, it says. 15 years have passed since the end of the war with demons, creatures of darkness who have hunted the night and plagued humanity since time out of mind. The heroes of humanity's hour of need have become legend, and those who remain struggle to escape their shadows. Olive Paper and Darren Bales have grown up in this new peaceful world. Demons have been all but destroyed, but dangers still lurk for the children of heroes. Olive, Princess of Hollow, has her entire life planned out by her mother, Duchess Leisha Paper, a steady progress along a checklist to prepare her for succession. The more her mother writes the script, the more Olive rails against playing the parts she is assigned. Darren faces challenges of a different kind. Though free to choose his own path, the weight of legacy hangs heavy around his shoulders. It isn't easy being the son of the man people say saved the world. Everyone expects greatness from Darren, but the only thing he's ever been great at is hiding. When Olive and Darren step across the wards one night, they learn that the demons are not all gone, and those that remain hunger for revenge. Events are set in motion that only prophecy can foresee, as Olive and Darren seek to find their own places in the world in time to save it again. Now, I don't know entirely if I can tell you with any confidence that, this is a book that if you've never read, the previous series, you can just jump right into and not be completely lost, or if it, requires you to be, a big fan of the previous books. But either way, The Desert Prince is available from Del Rey in a very lovely hardcover edition. And this final one is also from Random Penguin. Okay, this one is in from Angry Robots, who are distributed by Random Penguin now. This is The Maleficent 7. It's a new fantasy novel by Cameron Johnston. And let's see. I mean, I've got this as an eARC, but just, always to hold them, it's a whole different sensation, right? So let's see what this has to say. It says, 1 town, 7 bloodthirsty monsters, their last hope. A dark new faith is ravaging the lands of Esseran. Cities and towns crumble before its power. Unprepared and unable to fight, defeat and desolation seem inevitable. But dread demonologist Black Heron is not willing to give up so soon. 40 years ago, she abandoned her own bloodthirsty army on the eve of its final victory, but she won't do that again. To defeat this new foe, she needs to reunite her old captains again: vampire, necromancer, orc chieftain, war god, twisted alchemist, and pirate queen. Okay, so it is kind of a take on Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven, of course. Can she overcome their vicious rivalries, persuade them to forgive her betrayal? Will these 7 legendary villains even be enough to defeat an army of fanatics hell-bent on a conquest? And Rob Hayes says it's like Kings of the Wild smushed together with Suicide Squad into a glorious, gory, sweary melee. All right, then. So The Maleficent 7, available, I guess, now from Angry Robot. Okay, so now that we have the physical copies out of the way, let's get into the eARCs. I have 13 of these. They take us all the way to the end of October. And the first of these is one that is already out from Saga Press. It came out on July the 20th. It's Savage Bounty by Matt Wallace. This is the sequel to the acclaimed spellbinding epic fantasy Savage Legion by Hugo Award-winning author Matt Wallace, about a utopian city with a dark secret and the underdogs who will expose it or die trying. They call them savages, brutal, efficient, expendable. The Empire relies on them. The greatest weapon they ever developed. Culled from the streets of their cities, they take the ones no one will miss and throw them by the thousands at the Empire's enemies. If they live, they fight again. If they die, well, there are always more. So this continues this saga in a second volume. There will be at least one more, I believe, next year. Savage Bounty by Matt Wallace is out now. And next up, this one is from Orbit. And it's We Cry for Blood by Devin Madsen. This is Volume 3 of the Reborn Empire trilogy, which I believe Devin Madsen began as a self-published series. And with We Ride the Storm and then We Lie with Death. And these have now been reissued by Orbit, and I believe now the trilogy has been completed. It says, in this bloody epic fantasy, the Empire has fallen, but as alliances fracture and hope begins to wane, another powerful empire threatens to rise from the ashes of the old world. Ambition and schemes have left the Kizian Empire in ashes. Empress Miko Tasai will have to move fast if she hopes to secure a foothold in its ruins. However, the line between enemies and allies may not be as clear-cut as it first appeared. We Cry for Blood is the thrilling continuation of a heart-pounding epic fantasy series, perfect for readers of Mark Lawrence, John Gwynne, and Brian Staveley. And this write-up actually sounds like it is probably going to go longer than a trilogy. But anyway, as you can see, action-packed, very war-themed, large-scale epic fantasy. So if you're a fan of that, here you go. We Cry for Blood is on August the 3rd. Now, on August the 17th, another huge epic fantasy from Orbit. This is Legacy of Light by Matthew Ward, and it is the third volume in his Legacy trilogy, after Legacy of Ash and Legacy of Steel. And this one just goes, for the first time in many years, the Tressian Republic and the Hadari Empire are at peace, but darkness never sleeps. In Trigard, Empress Milana Serenal, struggles to protect a throne won at great cost. In Tressia, Lord Protector Victor Droshna seeks to restore all he's lost through forbidden means. And as the sins of the past are once more laid bare, every road will lead to war. So once again, we're really big on the war-themed epic fantasies this week. But that is Legacy of Light by Matthew Ward from Orbit. Now, if your tastes run to a slightly different kind of a thing, the Red Hook imprint, which I think is where Orbit kind of shuffles all of its literary SFF, we have a book on August the 17th called Wildwood Whispers by Willa Reese. And this one goes like this. At the age of 11, Mel Smith's life had found its purpose when she met Sarah Ross. 10 years later, Sarah's sudden death threatens to break her. To fulfill a final promise to her best friend, Mel travels to an idyllic small town nestled in the shadows of the Appalachian Mountains. Yet Morgan's Gap is more than a land of morning mists and deep forest shadows. There are secrets that call to Mel in the gaze of the gnarled and knowing woman everyone calls Granny, in a salvaged remedy book filled with the magic of simple mountain traditions, and in the connection she feels to the Ross homestead and the wilderness around it. With every taste of sweet honey and tart blackberries, the wildwood twines further into Mel's broken heart. But a threat lingers in the woods, one that may have something to do with Sarah's untimely death, and that has now set its sights on Mel. The wildwood is whispering, it has secrets to reveal if you're willing to listen. Okay then, so very atmospheric sounds, very kind of eerie, hidden secret magics in remote forest groves. Okay, if that's the sort of thing that speaks to you, Wildwood Whispers again on August the 17th. Okay. And on September the 14th now, we're moving back into space. We have Oaths of Legacy. This is by Emily Skrutsky. And this is the sequel to Bonds of Brass, which came out next year. This looks to be a series. I mean, just the look of the thing. Check, if you look at that cover, looks very, very, very YA, and it seems to be incorporating a lot of popular tropes for YA readers. And of course, Emily Skrutsky, that is her background, writing YA. And yet Del Rey is marketing this trilogy as adults. So I've yet to read the first book, so I can't really tell you for sure. But, it's a very kind of romance-themed kind of space fantasy kind of thing. A young prince will learn how much he's willing to sacrifice as he tries to destroy the rebellion that threatens his throne in the exhilarating sequel to Bonds of Brass. And that one will be out on September the 14th. Also on the 14th, we have something that looks a little strange and actually a little kind of wonderful in a weird way. And I like them weird, but this is from Angry Robot, and it's a book called The Offset. The author is Calder Zuchak, I believe that's pronounced. And this is described as kind of a satirical dystopia, which kind of takes the opposite path of something like The Handmaid's Tale. Because this is about antinatalism. The notion, like The Handmaid's Tale was all about, we're going to force women to give birth, right? This is going the opposite way. And it says, it is your 18th birthday and one of your parents must die. You are the one who decides. Who do you pick? In a dying world, the offset ceremony has been introduced to counteract and discourage procreation. It is a rule that is simultaneously accepted, celebrated, and abhorred. But in this world, survival demands sacrifice, so for every birth, there must be a death. Professor Jack Boltanski is leading Project Salix, a groundbreaking new mission to save the world by replanting radioactive Greenland with genetically modified willow trees. But things aren't working out, and there are discrepancies in the data. Has someone intervened to sabotage her life's work? In the meantime, her daughter Miri, an anti-natalist, has run away from home. Days before their offset ceremony where one of her mothers must be sentenced to death, she is brought back against her will following a run-in with the law. Which parent will Miri pick to die, the one she loves or the one she hates who is working to save the world? The whole theme basically being, that anything, even something that might, for example, have noble motives, like, oh, let's deal with overpopulation, can completely be evil if it is taken over by, folks with fanatical, just levels of zeal, right? Okay, so that is the offset, and it comes out September the 14th, and so this sounds like something very much right up my street. Now, back to big bludgeoning epic fantasy, also from Angry Robot. On September the 28th, we have The Godless by James Moore. Now, this is the 5th book in his Seven Forges series, action-oriented epic fantasy. This series, the first book, The Seven Forges, I believe came out way back in 2013. And he has also had another series released by Angry Robot in the interim. So this, again, action-oriented, battle-oriented epic fantasy. I'm not even going to bother with a synopsis because, after book 5, what couldn't I spoil? And then what would make sense, right? But if you are a fan, then The Godless will be out on September the 28th, and if it looks intriguing to you, then the Seven Forges is always out there for you to start the series with, right? Also, on the 28th, we have from Del Rey Books, The Last Graduate, and this is from Naomi Novik. It is her sequel to A Deadly Education, her new series called The Scholomance. The whole idea being, let's take the magic school trope and set it in this location that really is a frickin' meat grinder. It just completely destroys its students to get the best people out of the whole system, right? But this one, like I said, The Last Graduate, it says, our beloved school, we have a character narrating the blurb here, does its best to devour all its students, but now that I've reached my senior year and have actually won myself a handful of allies, it's suddenly developed a very particular craving for me. And even if I somehow make it through the endless waves of maleficaria that it keeps throwing at me, in between grueling homework assignments, I haven't any idea how my allies and I are going to make it through the graduation hall alive. But I'm not giving in, not to the mals, not to fate, and especially not to the Scholomance. I'm going to get myself and my friends out of this hideous place for good, even if it's the last thing I do. All right. It says, with keen insight and mordant humor, Novik reminds us that sometimes it is not enough to rewrite the rules. Sometimes you need to toss out the entire rule book. Okay, so that is September the 28th, The Last Graduate. Now, moving on to October the 5th. This is in from Tor.com Publishing, and this is a novella by Alex Harrow, the author of the 10,000 Doors of January. It's called A Spindle Splintered. And it says, it's Zinnia Gray's 21st birthday, which is extra special because it's the last birthday she'll ever have. Uh-oh. When she was young, an industrial accident left Zinnia with a rare condition. Not much is known about her illness, just that no one has lived past 21. Her best friend Charm is intent on making Zinnia's last birthday special with a full Sleeping Beauty experience, complete with a tower and a spinning wheel. But when Zinnia pricks her finger, something strange and unexpected happens, and she finds herself falling through worlds, with another Sleeping Beauty just as desperate to escape her fate. So someone else like her, apparently. Interesting. Okay, and all in a novella length. It's like 115 pages. So that is available from Tor.com on October the 5th. Now, moving on to October the 12th. Following week, we have another strange-looking one from Angry Robot. And this one actually looks really cool. And it's interesting because it is a work in translation by a very highly regarded South Korean author named Eun-Soo Kim. This won the South Korea's most prestigious literary prize, in fact. And it's a book called The Cabinet. And I just love this synopsis. It says, Cabinet 13 looks exactly like any normal filing cabinet, except this cabinet is filled with files on the symptomers, people whose weird abilities and bizarre experiences might just mark the emergence of a new species. But to Mr. Kong, the harried office worker who spends his days looking after the cabinet, the symptoms are just a headache, from the woman whose doppelganger broke up with her boyfriend, to the man with a ginkgo tree growing from his fingertip. And then there's that guy who won't stop calling, asking to be turned into a cat. A richly funny and fantastical novel about the strangeness at the heart of even the most ordinary lives from one of South Korea's most acclaimed novelists. This sounds like it might appeal to the China Mieville fan out there, definitely. Anyway, moving on now. October the 19th, by author K. Eason, who wrote a duology, How Rory Thorne, destroyed the multiverse, I believe, and sequel to that. This is a book called Night Watch on the Hinterlands, and it is set in the same universe as Rory Thorne. It says it's a standalone, science fiction mystery that follows an unlikely duo who must discover the motive behind an unusual murder. The Templar, when Lieutenant Iari hears screams in the night, she expects to interrupt a robbery or break up a fight. I know it rhymed. I didn't write this. It just came out that way. Cute. Instead, she discovers a murder with an impossible suspect, a Riev, or a Reeve, one of the battle mecha decommissioned after the end of the last conflict, repurposed for manual labor. Reeve don't kill people, and yet clearly this one has. Iari sets out to find it. The Spy. Officially, Gare is an ambassador from the Vicari. Unofficially, he's also a spy, sending information back to his government, unfiltered by diplomatic channels. Unlike Iari, Gare isn't so sure the Reeve's behavior is just a malfunction, since the Reeve were created using an unstable mixture of alchemy and arithmancy. As Gare and Iari search for the truth, they discover that the murderous Reeve is just a weapon in the hands of a wielder with wider ambitions than homicide, including releasing horrors not seen since the war that make a rampaging Reeve seem insignificant. Okay, so that sounds actually kind of cool. Night Watch on the Hinterlands by K. Eason, and that's out from DAW on October the 19th. Now, the final two books for this mailbag, the final two eARCs, are two books that come out on October the 26th. And the first one is from Orbit, and this is the new book by Tade, or some people I've heard pronounce it Tade. I don't know which is correct. If you know, please inform me in the comments. Thank you so much. But it's his new book, Tade Thompson, and it is Far from the Light of Heaven. This is a tense and thrilling novel, an unforgettable vision of humanity's future in the chilling emptiness of space, by Arthur C. Clarke Award winner Tade Thompson. The colony ship Ragtime docks in the Lagos system, having traveled light years from home to bring thousands of sleeping souls to safety among the stars. Some of the sleepers, however, will never wake. As a profound and sinister mystery unfolds aboard the gigantic vessel, its skeleton crew makes decisions that will have repercussions for all of humanity's settlements, from the scheming politics on Lagos Station to the colony planet of Bloodroot, to other far-flung systems, and indeed, Earth itself. All right, well, I love large-scale space opera. This one from the author of, Rosewater and its sequels, that trilogy. I'm very excited to see this. So, Far from the Light of Heaven will be out October 26th. Now, the final book here is one that I am very excited for because I have already read it. And I know that it's really awesome, or at least I enjoyed it. This is a book called Liege Killer by Christopher Hinz. And this is the first volume in a trilogy that Angry Robot is reprinting. This is the Paratwa trilogy. That came out at the end of the 80s through like the beginning of the 90s. I think the first book came out in like 1989, Liege Killer. And so now they are re-releasing these, and they've put out some newer novels by basically Christopher Hinz put these novels out at that time, and then another one like at the very beginning of the 90s, and then he dropped out of sight, for like 15, 16 years. And then Angry Robot started bringing out books by him again, including like another book set in the universe, the future of this trilogy. But these are the originals, and Liege Killer is just a blast. If you like just pure action, insanity, just lots of fighting, that kind of thing, this is very much your ticket. Imagine something, I don't know, you can't really call it cyberpunk, but imagine something that's like that mixed kind of with John Wick. All right, anyway, just take that as you will. Here's the synopsis. 200 years after a nuclear apocalypse forced humanity to flee the Earth for orbiting colonies, stories are still told about the Paratwa, fearsome genetically modified killers who occupied 2 bodies, controlled by a single vicious mind. The legendary Paratwa Rimul, known as the Liege Killer, was the strongest of them all. When rumors swirl that Rimul somehow survived the cataclysm on Earth and has been sent to terrorize the colonists, 2 21st century Paratwa hunters are revived from stasis to track him down. But is this an isolated incident, or has the mysterious force which unleashed Rimul announced a gambit to seize control of the entire human race? So yeah, they call them tways. I remember that. That's you have again this kind of shared mind between two killers, so that they can kind of work co-op much more easily to stalk their targets. But yeah, just very pulse-pounding action kind of stuff, if that's the kind of science fiction you like. And that will be out on October the 26th, and then I think Angry Robot is going to do book 2 and book 3 like a month apart after that. All right, so there you have it. That's all I've got for this episode of the Mailbag. You guys know the drill. Light up those comments. Let me know which of these looks most interesting and exciting to you, and which you would like to see me prioritize for review. Otherwise, if you enjoyed watching, please hit that like button, share the video far and wide with all of your SFF reading friends, and above all, please subscribe. If you have not done so, that is how the channel grows. It's just sort of like inching by fingernails to 10,000, and so maybe we could pick that up a bit. Let's just get that over the hump already. Why not, right? But otherwise, if you can also support the channel at my TeePublic store, I'll get it out eventually, and my Patreon, where recruits into Wink's Army get little perks like early access on some of my videos. I want to thank all of those lovely people for their added support. It's greatly appreciated. I use the Patreon money to pay Matt Olson, my brilliantly talented, very gifted channel artist, for all the wonderful thumbnails and other work that he does for me. Doing a lot of work right now together on the upcoming Space Opera September Season 2 video, which I think you're going to really, really be excited by. So anyway, I want to thank all of those people for their additional support. I want to thank all of you guys for being the very best viewers in all of BookTube. And until I see all of you next time, stay safe and stay healthy, and happy reading.